I'm Leigh-Anne Price, and I'm here today with a special guest, Melinda Henderson with Junior Achievement. And I'm really excited about talking about who Junior Achievement is. And we came together and met because of the real estate world that I'm in, because Julianne White's with you, and she's a realtor. And then turns out your son and daughter-in-law are in the real estate world. It's just such a
Right.
small community in
Right.
West Texas. So I want to hear about Junior Achievement. I want you to share with this audience our lunch and all that, kind of
Okay.
who you are.
Okay. Who I am. All right. Well, I have been with Junior Achievement now. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary in June. Hard to believe. And we are a youth development organization that teaches three main things. We teach financial literacy, workforce readiness, and entrepreneurship. And we do that by using curriculum that has been created by JAUSA. We have kindergarten through 12th grade curriculum. We also are in the process right now. Junior Achievement is working on curriculum for pre-kinder and also for post-high school from 18 to 25, because our mission is to help equip our students, our kids, from cradle to career, basically. So that's what we do. We get volunteers from the community. For the most part, we do have some teacher-led opportunities, but we get volunteers from the community that go into our classrooms and teach our curriculum, and they also teach the students about themselves and their careers and who they are.
So when you say that you teach students pre-K, in my mind, I'm like, what are you teaching them?
I know, right?
Kindergarten, first grade. Let's just dumb it down to money first.
Sure.
What are you, when you go into that classroom? We're going to get into classroom stuff here in a little bit, and I'm going to share a testimony about that.
Okay.
But what do you mean you're going into the classroom and teaching these young kids about money?
Well, everything is age appropriate. So, of course, at the kindergarten level, our little ones mainly learn the difference between what is a need and what is a want, because they have to learn, these are things that we need to survive, or are there things that we just want in our lives? And so it starts from there. How do I identify what is a need and what is a want? So we go through that. I just finished up teaching a class of youngsters. They were actually first and second graders. These kids have been through a lot of trauma, so their level is more like between kindergarten and first grade.
Yeah.
But they also were learning about needs and wants, but then they were learning about how money works in the community. They learned how money can go from the pizza place where they pay to the bank and to grocery stores that they buy the goods from, and things like that. So they just learn in a very age appropriate way where money is and how it works and where they belong in that scenario, and how they can look at things just don't appear in this life.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. When Julianne reached out to me, I was like, Junior Achievement is still here? Because when I went to Lee Freshman, Junior Achievement came in and taught us a class on how to write checks, how to balance a check register, how to look and manage a bank account. And I remember that my freshman year at Lee Freshman. So when my kids were going through high school, they were at Midland Christian. And I was, we were at that place where I was trying to teach them about money and where money comes from, because it's not on the tree out back. And, I went from...
That debit card does not always have everything attached to it, or that check.
Exactly. Well, back in the day, I would get $2 a day for lunch. And that $2, we were going and getting 99-cent hamburgers, or we were getting bean and cheese cups with a Coke from Taco Villa, whatever.
Right.
So when my kids were in high school and they were starting to drive, I thought, Well, $5 a day should be sufficient. That is not sufficient. I mean, my kids had a $20 a day budget for lunch, which is crazy and
Isn't it?
possibly a little entitled. And if they spent more and they were out by Wednesday, you get to go home or you get to eat. Well, I don't care where you eat, but this is what me as a single mom's going to give, right? So
Sure.
I think that especially if they go through this in kindergarten and then you go into these other schools that have a little less knowing what a want and a need is, I think it at a young age is so amazing. So if you get in at kindergarten level with them, do they see you next year at first grade?
That is our desire and our hope. That ends up being dependent a lot on the schools. If we could be in a school and start the students from kindergarten and go all the way through their elementary, which here is sixth grade, boy, would it build on itself. But of course, we're in Midland, so we have students moving in and out all the time. Yeah. We have principals moving in and out all the time. So that's where our challenge is a lot of times is we can get going into a school and then the leadership may change or the teachers may change and they may not necessarily continue junior achievement the next year, just depending on what they have going on, what's going on in the school. That's where continuity would be really, really great. But it comes down to continuity also in our schools, continuity in our administration, which I'm really feeling like we're going to have now for a while.
Yeah.
Midland is notorious for principals and teachers being moved around all of the time. So it's really hard to keep that going. But we've had situations where that's happened. Back several years ago, we started going in at Washington, mainly because the lady that was working for me, that's where her daughter went. And so we talked with that principal and we were going in every grade level. So
you
those
had
kids
someone fighting for you right there because they had a dog in the fight.
Yes, exactly. And we have different schools. Pease Elementary has had us in there for years. So the students have been getting it repeatedly. So that is the ideal situation.
So how does, if in this scenario, let's just say you know somebody, right? And you get in and talk to the right person. Let's walk through Sally at Bonham Elementary. And Sally loves your program. So does she pick, we want to do the financial literacy or we want to do the entrepreneurship? Do they pick a certain program or do they pick the whole thing? Or how do they choose what you're going to come in and teach?
Their junior achievement has become, over the years, more flexible in the way that it can be done. In the elementary schools, that still can be flexible, but for the most part, our programs are grade specific. And we have a scope and sequence that teachers can look at. You can go online and see, this particular grade level deals more in this program with entrepreneurship. This one deals a little bit more with financial literacy. For instance, when I was getting ready to go teach these students at Oaks Academy, since that teacher does have first and second graders, but also has even some that are a little lower, I let her look at the curriculum and pick which one of those she felt like would be more beneficial. And she picked the one that was more financial literacy based.
Based on her class personality.
Right.
Okay.
And what she had been teaching and what she felt like they could grasp.
Yeah.
For instance, the first grade program that we have actually focuses a little bit more on entrepreneurship than it does financial literacy. And the second grade program is more financial literacy. And when you think about it, that almost makes sense because you're thinking about someone who's going out and deciding they want to open a business. Well, then after they've done that, how do we deal with the money?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But also, JA has made it where it can be segmented, or you can pick a certain modality and you can pick lessons from each program if you wanted to. We don't have a lot of that in the elementary level.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they go in, They teach this kit that is this information.
And when they come in, is it once a month? Is it over a week? What is the timeline?
Okay. We operate in semesters.
Okay.
So if you're going to teach something in the fall semester, it's got to be finished. But elementary programs have 5 lessons, and then they have an additional bonus lesson that the teacher can do if she chooses to. But they have 5 lessons. So normally the way that is done, the volunteer and the teacher work out a schedule. Most of the time, it is 1 lesson a week for 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. They go into the same class period with the same students in the same school for 5 different visits. Mm-hmm. And those students get to know them, and they look forward to them coming. And so that is normally how it works. But we have had volunteers and teachers who have worked it out where the volunteer came twice a week, or the volunteer has come once a day for 5 days. Mm-hmm. And we even have something at times called JA in a day, where maybe a whole grade level of students is going to get those JA lessons, but they're going to get it in a one-day format.
Yeah.
And that's usually a group of volunteers that have come in from, say, a bank or whatever the organization, mm-hmm. volunteer organization is. And we map out a program throughout the day where they get all of the lessons in one day.
Which is cool.
I
imagine a teacher would love that, because then they kind of have an easy day to catch up on grades, mm-hmm. or recording, I mean, I would assume.
Well, the teacher is required to always be in the classroom. Mm-hmm. There always has to be a certified teacher. It can't be a substitute teacher. Mm-hmm. It has to be a certified teacher. And we ask that the teacher is there to help with classroom management, mm-hmm. and to assist if needed, hand out things or whatever. It's mainly for the comfort and the security, legally and mentally for the volunteers, because a lot of our volunteers have never done anything like this. And a lot of volunteers have something in their mind that what it would be like to be in front of a group of students, mm-hmm. especially if they're in a junior high or high school level, then maybe what actually is truth. And that's another byproduct of JA, is that the regular person can go into a classroom and see what really goes on in our schools, mm-hmm. versus what they think. Mm-hmm. In our age of social media, you've got lots of keyboard warriors talking about what teachers should be doing, or mm-hmm. what schools should be doing, or this or that. When you go into the school and you're there, mm-hmm. you get to see what's really going on and how much a teacher does. So, but we do ask the teachers to be there and to be engaged. But yes, they're getting a day where they're not having to plan the lesson. Yeah. They're getting a day where they can sit at their desk for mm-hmm. a while. But we do ask them to be a part of, making sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing. Well,
and I can imagine that would be a little bit more protective. I mm-hmm. personally got to go mm-hmm. and be a speaker in one of the classes for you guys mm-hmm. recently, and it kind of ignited a little bit of a passion in me. I've already been pretty stirred in educating my real estate community on how mortgage works, how interest rates work, being honest, the honesty mm-hmm. and integrity in that. And so that day I got to go teach the senior class at Trinity Private School. And those kids, I walked in, I was nervous because they're old enough to tell you to take a hike, and they're old enough, and junior hires, and some upper age elementary kids.
So
it's real nerve-wracking to someone like me who had a rubber arm for my kids. You will be respectful, and if you're not, you're going to get it at home. But for whatever reason, that is not a full reality in our mm-hmm. world. No matter whatever that mm-hmm. circumstance is. But I went in there, and if anyone watching this has a senior at Trinity, every one of those parents should be so proud because that day I walked in, I didn't bring a presentation. I didn't want to bore them. I wanted to talk to these kids about credit. I wanted to talk to them about how credit gets built and how it gets destroyed. I wanted to talk to them about the statistics in owning homes versus renting and coming in and out of college and work history and how you work your money. And we did math problems that day and we did open questions and answers that day. It was, and they were taking notes. They were asking questions. They were fully engaged, and the teacher was there with Julianne, and it was a really cool experience. And so our community, we have so many people that don't know, and they can come in and teach this. You can, a banker, an oil man.
Right.
So that's on the money side. I mean, you can sell tires and come in and volunteer to teach.
Right. And for your listeners, what Leigh-Anne is speaking about is another program that we have called the Career Speaker Series. And that doesn't involve coming in multiple times. That involves going into a classroom one time.
Yeah.
And just speaking on what you do, kind of like when we were young and we had our moms and dads come up for career day.
Yeah.
We have that availability for those that can't commit to coming to a classroom for 5 days.
Yeah.
And that is, yes, letting students know what's available and what's out there.
Yeah.
And you're right. We can have police come in there. We could have, someone that's in robotics can come and talk about that and bring one of their robots, or drone people that do drone services.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
I
There's a
think
lot
it'd
of
be so cool.
possibilities.
I mean, and like Ryan with the podcast department.
Sure.
He is making his life, with videography and podcasting. This is where technology is trending. And
Right. I didn't even know there was such a thing until I came today.
well,
I thought everybody just did that on their own.
Yeah, I really never even knew either. And then he started teaching and coaching. It's really cool.
Right.
So I want to go back to if someone sees some of our video, a teacher, a school administrator, or whatever, and they're like, I want to do this for my classroom. Does a teacher contact you? Does a teacher contact the principal or the counselor, and then y'all all put together? What is the step-by-step process for you to come into a school, a classroom, kindergarten, 6th, 8th,
Right.
12th, whatever it is? What is that process?
Okay. There, once again, it's not just necessarily a one-step sequential idea, but most of the time, yes, we go through a principal. If a teacher sees this and they're interested in having it, it depends on the school. Many schools run differently. Some are more teacher driven, and the teacher can do what she feels she wants to do. I think with our Midland and Odessa schools now, they are becoming more uniform. There's more control from the top down, more about these are the things that we have to get done. I can tell you that junior achievement programs are approved by both school districts to come in. They have a lot of different programs that want to come in, and they can't.
Y'all are already on the list.
Take everything. So
Yeah.
we are approved for that, and also teachers can know that, hey, it's okay to invite junior achievement in. But they can contact us. They can talk to their principal. Their principal can reach out to us. We also go out to schools and we talk to principals about what we do. But yes, they can just reach out to us. They can call our office, or they can go to japb.org and request more information. And we will come and visit with them and talk about what is the best curriculum, because at the junior high and high school levels, we have different curriculums. We have, at the high school level, like we have personal finance, we have career exploration. So it depends on what your school is focusing on, what you're focusing on in your curriculum, as to which program you might want to have. And you can have more than one.
Yeah, they dovetail one off of the other.
Sure, they could have financial literacy, or they could have personal finance one semester, and they could have career success the second semester,
Yeah.
so we can come in and say, this is what we have. What fits your need?
At the older age group, let's just say 8th through 12th grade, what do you find the students really respond well to and love?
I think they really, of course, they respond to anything that deals with money.
Okay.
Okay. We have had instances where we've had volunteers from Sewell who have gone in and taught a program called All About Cars. That's a 1-day program, and that really gets their attention because they learn about what they might need to get the type of car they want. They learn about financing cars, and of course, for teenagers, that's of a strong interest because they're interested in that. But anything related to money, I think it's eye-opening to them when they learn about credit scores. Also, something super important that I think surprises them is when we're teaching them about their social media presence.
Oh,
And the
I
thing,
didn't know you taught that.
well, in our career side, I mean, if you're looking for someone that you want to hire, do you go look at their social media? Do you look at how they are? Do you look at their email name?
Boy, there are some interesting
That's
ones.
right.
I can tell you as a lender, there's some real interesting
right.
ones.
So we teach them about the things that they're posting and doing
That's amazing.
are going to be looked at, and so it's really important in
Do you
how they
tell them
present
that
themselves.
at a younger age now? Are you starting to tell them? Because, I mean,
Yes.
kids have the social media in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade now.
And everything that goes out there stays out there
Yeah.
for the most part. So, so yes, that is something that they latch onto. I will tell you that our challenge is we need more volunteers for the upper grade levels, and we need more school participation in the upper levels. Elementary is easier. It always has been historically throughout all of junior achievement. But we need more people that are willing to go into the junior high and high school classrooms. People are a little bit more concerned.
Volunteers are?
Volunteers.
Why?
Because of the things they hear about students.
Yeah.
Because of some of the behavior that is out there.
And true testament to that, my kids went to public school in the very beginning, and there were some challenges in the district, and I didn't feel like my kids were super safe at that time. That was many years ago.
Right.
And so we switched over, and they went to Midland Christian their whole life, and then my youngest, his junior year, decided to switch to public school for the sake of football. And
Right.
I will say, it was a big culture shock for him and for me, where we come from an environment where kids aren't walking down the hall throwing out profanities, and they're not walking down the hall dressed like kittens. Like there is a big difference in culture, but I think that we in our community, if we will just love on these kids and go in at it with the heart of this is someone else's baby, no matter what stage they're in, trauma they've been through, or direction they're headed. We're here to equip and have a heart of service. And so that's my passion. And when this opportunity presented itself and Julianne invited me, it was such a fun thing. So we, as the leaders in the community, as the adults, we just have to adjust our mindset and go, hey, let's go in and make a difference today.
Well, if you want to create change, you don't do that by isolating away from the issue.
Yeah.
And that's what so many people do. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm just not going to do it. Well, how
it doesn't make it not there anymore.
And how are these students going to ever believe that they can do something that in their mind, they've already made up their mind they can't do. And that's one of JA's missions is to change the I can't to I can.
Yeah.
So many students are already defeated because they either come from a background where, their family nobody may have ever graduated high school and they have this mindset of, well, I can't do that anyway. Well, our goal is to turn that into an I can mindset.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that have stories where they started from nothing, where they started in the same place that some of these kids are. And
everybody
you can
loves a comeback story.
Right. And you can provide hope and healing even for these students. So if we don't need to be repelled. We need to go in. It just, honestly, it makes me think of Jesus because he didn't stay away from the people that everyone else said
he touched
to
the
avoid.
lepers.
That's right. He went in amongst them, and that's where change comes from. So
and these kids are in such a transitional stage. We are on this side of it, looking backwards on the social media, they're so overexposed. They have been for a few years now. And in that overexposure, it has created this huge gender identity crisis. And we don't have to dive into
and a
that
storm
part,
of everything.
but there is an identity. Let's take gender out of, let me repeat. We are in an identity crisis with these kids.
Exactly.
Whether that identity crisis is gender, whether it is family, whether it is financial, whatever that identity crisis is, we have the ability to set a tone and be consistent.
Right.
And so something like this could, in our community that's so still tight and protected, even with people in and out, there's still a foundation of kids here that are here.
Right.
And they're going to say, I grew up in Midland, Odessa, whatever, in the Permian Basin my whole life.
Right.
And getting familiar with that, I think is so important.
Right. And you have to break the cycle somehow.
Yeah.
The cycle of poverty, the cycle of abuse, the cycle of minimal thinking. You can come in and change that cycle. We had a student a few years ago who he was in at New Tech in Odessa, and his family had never had high school graduates, much less college graduates. And First Basin Credit Union came in, and they were teaching our personal finance class, and he learned about budgets. He learned about how you look at what you have and how you can make it work. And he had been thinking the entire time, well, I'll probably, go to Odessa College, which there's nothing wrong with going to Odessa College, but he had bigger dreams of wanting to be a surgeon. And he knew he needed to go, and for him, it would be Texas Tech. But he didn't think that was even a possibility. He had an I can't. But after he went through that and learned about budgeting and learned about some of the things that they taught, he seriously went back and looked at the situation. He looked at the money situation. He looked at his family's situation. And he started putting some things down on paper. And he started talking with his teachers. And that young man ended up figuring out a way that he was going to go to Texas Tech, and he did.
Did he become a surgeon?
That's the only thing that's hard about junior achievement.
Yeah.
It's very hard to know what became of those students. But just the fact that he changed his mind, and he actually, for the summer, he went to work at a credit union.
Yeah.
It wasn't First Basin. It was a different one. But still, he had credit union people speaking to him. He went to work in the summer to make money, to save money, to go to school, and he worked at a credit union. So that you can see where that benefits the organization going in, because you just never know. You might inspire somebody to actually come and work for your organization or go into your field.
Well, West Texas has one of the highest per capitas of millionaires. And when I listen to this. I'm like, and I know some very successful businessmen here that I've talked to, and I'm like, how'd you do it? What'd you do? I've one that was like, I walked into the bank with $500 in my pocket, and I had a vision and a dream, and I got lucky. That is so common. But they had a want to, they had an I can. And I think our kids need to hear that from our local people. Some of them don't have high school or college degrees, and they say they got lucky, but I mean, there's a drive and there's a drill there,
Right, right.
and so I would love to find people that have found success in our community, whether it's strategy, luck, or skill, and say, hey, will you come help teach tomorrow's youth, tomorrow's leadership in our community?
Right, right.
And meet junior achievement. I just think that would be so cool
Right.
for kids, because kids are going to identify with the people who did it.
Right.
With someone that goes, I had $500 and I started an ice cream shop,
Right,
or
right,
whatever
right.
it is. So bridging that gap is going to be important,
Right.
and I know plenty of business people that I have already started going, hey, I got invited to join the board of directors at Junior Achievement, which is such an honor, in my opinion, just so you know. Thank you.
Well, happy to have you.
So, speaking on that,
Okay.
we have a board of 15 now.
I think so. It changes a lot because people move in and out a lot.
Yeah. So, you guys are still looking to develop your board. It's a 3-year.
We're always developing a board.
Yeah. And the meeting I went to, everybody was there. I mean, there's a wide variety of people on that board. I mean, between the schools and the banks and the oil and attorneys and financial and Craig, who's a realtor. My dad, I got a call the next day. He's like, did you join the board for junior achievement? And I was like, yes. How'd you know that? Because I hadn't told him yet. And he says so-and-so called me, my friend. I think your daughter just joined our board. I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
such a small world. You know what I mean? I can't move around anywhere without seeing
Right.
someone.
That's a blessing and a curse.
It is. My kids would always they'd be in the grocery store with their grandparents at young ages, and they'd be like, Trinity. And she's like, stranger danger. But they knew me, it's the blessing of living in a small town. So there's a board of directors.
Right.
And it's the local junior achievement of the Permian Basin is governed by the board with you as the executive director.
We actually are. It's a leadership board. Our governing board is from JA of the Chisholm Trail, because the way we're made up is that JA of Permian Basin, JA of the High Plains, which is Amarillo, and JA of Abilene are all area offices of Junior Achievement of the Chisholm Trail out of Fort Worth. That happened back in 2011, where these offices merged. And every single JA area used to be very autonomous, as in completely autonomous. We're still very autonomous in that we have our own budgets, we have our own boards, we have our own bank accounts. We make local decisions, but the governing board is JAs of the Chisholm Trail, which we have the board chairs of each of these boards serve on that one.
Yeah.
So that is how it's made up. But we are very autonomous with the board in that we make decisions about our fundraisers. We make decisions about the finances. But it's very nice to have Chisholm Trail behind us, because they handle our back office things. They handle the payroll. They handle the audits.
Yeah.
They handle all of that stuff that is a lot for a very small office. We're only 2 full-time people and a part-time person. So that board technically governs.
And that lady was at the board meeting I was at.
Our area president.
And she is able to bring ideas from other markets, which I thought was really cool.
Right.
And give outside opinion, which not all boards have that.
Right.
So I really liked that piece. so that is the board of directors. I really want to talk because always when there's a nonprofit, this program's really cool. So we need help getting further and deeper into the schools at all levels. We really need volunteers. We need volunteers for multiple things. We need volunteers to teach. We need volunteers to raise money. We need volunteers
For the board.
for the board. Okay.
Yes.
Now let's talk about fundraising.
Okay.
And I
Without that, there's nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah. So money just doesn't magically come in from the government. I mean, yes, there are grants, and you have to do. There's a lot of hoops to jump through to get grants, and that you guys do great with that. So, and the board is 100%. Money raising board and participating board. When I was trying to come up with the right term, the board, you have 100% participation financially from your board of directors.
Right. Everybody,
which means we give money out, and that's unheard of a lot of times. But I think it speaks to the vision of the program. So the next opportunities come from community events.
Right.
And one of them is the Kendra Scott Gives Back. That's coming up. When is that?
Right. We normally have done the Kinder Scott Gives Back event at Christmas, which we have one booked before Christmas, but we also went ahead and booked one for Mother's Day. So on May 11th from 5 to 7, folks can go to the Kinder Scott store, and if they mention Junior Achievement at checkout, then we'll get 20% of whatever they purchased from them. There is also a 24-hour online opportunity, which there's a code that goes with that, so you will have to look at our Facebook or anything to get that code. But if you buy from that store within a 24-hour time period, and put in the code, then we also get some from that. So that's just awesome. A small, fundraiser. And Kinder Scott has always been really big on helping nonprofits and. Who doesn't need to go buy something for their mother?
Well, who doesn't like Kinder Scott?
Right, and who doesn't like Kinder Scott?
And now they have some really cool stuff that you don't even... I mean, I've had friends go, everybody has Kinder Scott.
Right.
But now they have some really beautiful pieces that you just would never know.
And they have candles, and they have other things.
They have some really cool things.
Right.
I personally like Kinder Scott.
Right.
I've never given it as a gift, and
That's
someone
what is on my ears this morning.
Yeah, I have those. I have those in a ring. It's so pretty. Yeah. I love Kinder Scott, and I love giving it as a gift. So Kinder Scott is coming up, and then your big fundraiser is at Christmas.
Right.
It's the Jingle
Bell Run.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people dress up and get all fancy, and they ran by my house this year. And so let's talk a little bit about the Jingle Bell Run, sponsorships, opportunities, how these kinds of runs make money for programs like Junior Achievement.
The Jingle Bell Run, it's just really neat for one thing, because JA started doing runs before runs were cool. I mean, the Jingle Bell Run has been going for about 27 or 28 years.
Wow.
Yes. And it, of course, started as a small event. It was downtown. And it has grown now to last year we had over 1,000 runners.
Wow.
And we have the privilege of getting to work with a local for-profit organization, Midland Athletic Company. We started doing this now 5 years ago. And it really started because a young man that was working at Midland Athletic Company had run in the Jingle Bell Run years before when he was at Midland Christian. And he just had a heart for that run. It was special to him because they had always run in it. And he talked with the owner, Martin, at the time, and we got involved on a partnership basis with them. They were starting to do timing for runs, and we were going to get them to do that for us. And instead, they came to us with the proposal of a better partnership, a bigger partnership. And so now we have been partnering with them for the last 5 years. We've been able to grow because they have the expertise.
They do all the run setup.
They do the run
They do
setup.
the monitors. They do the cross points. They do the check-ins.
They do
when
all
you say
of that.
There's a partnership.
They put the registration up. They cover 95% of the expenses for the run. And they do all the promotion of the run. And of course, they have the followers. They have the running communities and all of that. So that has been able to make the run grow so big that on our side, the part that we get to benefit from is we get the sponsorships for the run. But instead of it technically going to the expenses of the run, we get to keep that money and use it for programs. And because they're covering most of the expenses for the run. And because the run has grown, that allows us to increase our pricing for sponsorships because we're reaching more people.
Yeah.
So we get more high profile sponsorships. You know, we have had Sewell came on board with us several years ago, and they've increased their sponsorship quite a bit. XTO. I mean, we have so many great sponsors that have stayed with us because we've continued to grow. And we also grew because we became a nighttime race.
Yeah.
Running through Grasslands
All
Estates,
the Christmas lights.
where families can get together and run through the Christmas lights. And it has turned into truly a fun family event that kicks off the Christmas season because we always have it the first Saturday in December.
And we all sit outside. And, I mean, it's almost like trick-or-treating at Halloween. I mean, the community of Grasslands sits out there and high fives. And in our private Facebook HOA page, there's plenty of conversation about. Now, is it a little annoying that you can't get in and out? Either you plan to be home or you plan to be gone.
Right.
But really, if that's all that can annoy you in the year,
there's always going to be a Grinch.
Yeah, I love it.
There's always a Grinch.
I love it. The first time I saw it, I was like, "What is going on? I want to wear a tutu that has bells on it, but I don't want to run."
But see, that's the thing. There's always a ripple effect, and it creates unity within your community.
Yeah.
People start putting their Christmas lights up earlier.
Yeah.
And there's probably even a little competition amongst the neighborhood of, hey, who can have great Christmas lights for this event? But that and the runners, it is great that the neighborhood folks are out waving and cheering on our runners. So it really has morphed into something a lot more. You know, a couple of years, Miss Casey's was involved, and we've got the best Santa in the world, Santa Scott, who has been coming out and taking pictures with the kids, and he is an amazing Santa Claus. And just different organizations. Kent Quick has come out for years and provided free hot chocolate and coffee.
Aren't they the most donate? The Kent companies. I know Bill Kent personally and Julie Kent. And they dive in, and I just love them so much.
And I mean, they were doing it when we only had 200 people running, and they're still doing it now that we have 1,000.
Sewell Ford too, I have to say. Sewell Ford, when I have been on boards in the past, both of those companies, every time if they haven't been involved, they have never once said no.
Right.
I mean, they're just those are the types of community partnerships, whether by donation, whether by classroom support, they just go in. And the Kent company is very much like Colin Sewell. The Kent Company's leadership has a real vision to educate. They're all about retention. They take care of their employees. I personally worked for the Kent Companies in their marketing department for a few years when I was a young adult, and they really do care about their community.
Right. And I have to give a shout out also to Martin and Jennifer Vega at Midland Athletic Company because they too care very much about this community. They have a heart. They have a heart for health for our community, and that's why they work to help create events that help nonprofits. I mean, they could be making a lot more money off an event like the Jingle Bell Run.
Oh yeah.
But that's not what their heart is. Their heart is to they believe in our mission, and they do care about the community, and they pride themselves, and they work so hard to create quality events that are safe.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
And there are police all over that
Right.
neighborhood.
MPD has organizations that they like to work with and they don't necessarily so much
Yeah.
like to work with because of the preparation,
The compliance,
and all of
the
that.
organization.
Right.
Yeah.
So I give a plug to them. If you need to go buy tennis shoes, if you need go to Midland.
Yeah.
Always buy local.
I agree.
Always buy local
I
if you
agree.
can. Small business is so important, and they are really becoming a pillar in the community.
Yeah.
For more
And-
they don't just do shoes now. They do
Yeah.
functional medicine. They do a lot of things. So
Yeah, they're located on Wadley.
yes.
Where Flat Belly Organics used to be.
Right.
Kind of
Across from the Rusty
diagonal
Taco.
Ooh, yeah, I love that place. Yeah, across from San Miguel Square near
Yes.
Wadley. So
Yes.
yeah, they've been really involved for a long time. So to give, someone can sponsor something with the Jingle Bell Run, water or T-shirts or hats, or they can.
Well, now
give
Midland
that.
Athletic Company takes care of all of that.
Okay.
But they can be a sponsor. We have different sponsorships levels, and of course we rework that each year. But one of the new things we've had this last year was a lot of really cool swag. We decided to
Yeah.
have some premium swag versus regular, and so we've had sponsors for that. Of course, Sewell has been our banner sponsor, one of our top sponsors. XTO has been our medal sponsor, but we have different levels of that.
Okay, because some people just want to write a check, and
Right.
that's always welcome.
Right.
Who would turn
Right.
that down? But some people want to write a check and have their name on something, and that is equally as important and wouldn't be turned down.
Right.
So, if somebody wants to give, then they can get on the website, contact
can.
you, and then outside of the Jingle Bell Run, which is the big one, they can give. They can sign up to give quarterly. They can give monthly. They can
Right.
give. I mean, $10 helps. $10,000
Right.
helps.
And we also need organizations that want to just sponsor the programs.
Yeah.
That, we're going to sponsor a particular school. We're going to sponsor a grade level in a
So
school.
let's talk about that, because a minute ago you said something and I thought we need to make sure our community knows this. The school does not pay for your program.
Right.
There's not money built in for a school. So if you're a teacher or administrator and you go, oh, I don't know if I can do that, I don't know that I have the budget. You don't need the budget.
You do not.
The program comes into the schools at a no cost to any school.
Right.
And the cost of the program comes through the generosity of the community.
That's right.
And the grants that are approved.
Right.
So if somebody says, well, I want this program at my school, they can specifically say, hey, I want to sponsor this. I'm going to link you up with our school administrator and I'm going to write a check.
They certainly can. And that's the only way that it works. We can't be in every single school in the entire Permian Basin, kindergarten through 12th grade, because there isn't funding for that. Would that be awesome? Yes. Funding and volunteers.
Yeah.
But yes, an organization can say, you know what, we're a partner in education with this particular school. We'd love to have JA in the school too. Let's talk with the school, see if they're interested, and if so, you know what, we'll fund part of that or all of that. And the cost of that will vary depending on how many students we're looking at. We look at what is each year our expense per student based on our budget. What were our expenses divided by how many students did we reach, and that's how we come up with.
So if
kind of
there's a
a-
generic number, not to put you on the spot, but
Well,
people want to know. I mean, money
right.
talks.
Well, and
so
I'll-
if you have a classroom of 30 kids, and let's just go middle of the ground, 6th grade, and they do the full 6 day? You said 6 day? Yeah, okay. So 30 kids, 6th grade, 6-day curriculum. What's the cost?
Nowadays, this year we figured it's about $2,000
Okay.
a class. When I first came 10 years, we said it was about $1,000 for a class and about $10,000 for a whole elementary.
Yeah.
But now that's pretty much doubled, and that's because everything has doubled. It's
Yeah.
not just the cost of the curriculum
No,
that's
it's
involved.
what's going on in the nation.
It's the entire, right,
Yeah.
right. So we have to figure out all of our operating to figure that out. But with inflation and with everything that's going on, yeah, it's
so
increased.
on that scenario, $2,000 basic average cost. How many volunteers do you need for that?
That's just one volunteer. That's one class.
One volunteer.
One volunteer for a 6th grade class?
Yeah. You just need one for
Right.
or you need 6.
Well,
one that'll
if you're
show
gonna
up
do-
each day.
if you're just teaching one class of students, the same students, that's the same volunteer
Each
for
time.
those. Yes.
Okay. And does the volunteer go through a curriculum lesson at Junior Achievement before they teach it?
We do a training.
Okay.
Yes, we'll give, if you've never volunteered in the schools before, first of all, you have to submit, a background check
Yeah.
information to MISD or ECISD, whichever, or whatever school district you're in, because we're not limited to just those 2 school districts. And then, yes, we will train you. We will have a 45-minute to an hour training, depending on if we're training just one person or if we're training a whole room of people from your company, to make sure that you know what's going on and you know how it works. And we talk about classroom management. We talk about how it's going to work, all of those things. So we definitely make sure you're trained before we send you in.
That's good. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything. I mean, I really enjoyed teaching those seniors. I was in children's ministry from roughly 2000 until about 2013, 2014. So I was in children's ministry, which is 1st through 6th grade for many years. And that age is such an impressionable age. And there's never any telling what's going to fall out of their mouth or what they're going to tell you about their mom and dad.
Oh, right.
They're
I
so
know.
fun, but they're still so tender and sweet. Then you get into junior high and high school, and that gets a little intimidating, especially someone like me that is a people pleaser and I want everyone to be nice because I'm going to be nice. But I had such a great experience, and so I'm really hoping we can gather some community help here on the financial side, on the volunteer side, just to dive in with us and get to know
Sure.
our local junior achievement.
What volunteers have to realize is you're going to go in and you're not going to reach every single student. You're going to have those, especially in the older grade level, that may not even look at you, but you're going to have those that are looking at you, and you're going to have those that are paying attention. And if you make a difference in just one life, you've made a difference. And you could change the course of their life by giving them information that they had no idea about, or they learn, if they learn to just start saving a little money. So if you go in with the mindset of, I'm going to change the world, you can change the world one child at a time.
Yeah.
And
Well, it goes back to the biblical principle, leave the 99 for the one. I mean, you can't get to the one without reaching out. I mean, you
Right.
throw something against the wall long enough,
Right.
you're going to catch one.
And we are dedicated to giving the volunteer and the teacher and the students the best possible service, the best possible scenario that we can. So if we have a teacher or a volunteer who has a problem, if they let us know, we can work on fixing it. Now, we've had some volunteers that didn't tell us something was going on until after they had completely finished, and we're like, how can we work on that if we don't know about it? But
Communication is key
right,
in
communication,
all
because
scenarios.
we have great teachers out there, and then we have some that aren't as
Yeah.
great too. And if they're not paying attention or helping out, we need to know that. And if we have volunteers who are not showing up like they said they would, we need to know that.
Yeah.
Or if there's a problem going on in the classroom that needs to be rectified, we need to know that.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with many, many, many different personalities. We're dealing with many, different way people even communicate. Like, we have people that don't answer their emails. How can we communicate with you? I mean, so we're juggling a lot of different personalities, a lot of different types of people, and schedules,
everything. Yeah.
It is quite a lot, especially for my program manager, Julianne. And we do everything that we possibly can in our
She's so
small
gentle and
office.
patient, though.
She is.
She is the right person for that.
She is, but she's very vibrant. She's very passionate.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm very, I'm just really glad to have both of the ladies that work for me.
Yeah.
Or work with me. I don't
Yeah.
like that term, work for me.
Your
Work with me.
teammates,
My
yeah.
teammates.
Yeah.
But we are thankful that you are willing to shine a spotlight on us. And hopefully there will be some fruit from that. And
I know. I hope we can grow. I hope that I can make a difference in our community and make a difference for the program. And thank you for talking to me.
Oh,
it's
sure.
so insightful and such an easy topic to talk about. And
yeah.
Go find Junior Achievement, Permian Basin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.